Hey, you guys. So we have a very interesting topic to talk about today. You guys may have heard this story. There is a Russian woman who have a 6-year-old kid, met a guy, fell in love, got married, and now they have 21 surrogate kids. You heard me correctly. They have 21 kids. I think the difference between the oldest and the youngest is like 16 months. So within the span of March of last year till the summer of this year, they have 21 surrogate kids. So we're going to talk about surrogacy because surrogacy clearly has progressed significantly over the past couple of decades. It is definitely expanding to be an option for couples who struggle with infertility issues. And so we'll start off by talking about just this particular example in general. What do you guys think about that many surrogate kids in that amount of span? And I will mention that she is married to a millionaire, a multimillionaire. So it's the impression is finances are not an issue. So putting the finances aside, what do you guys think about the fact that they've had so many kids via surrogacy in that amount of time?
My thing was it planned to have that many? Like, I understand having surrogacy, that's fine, but to have about 21 in total, was it planned to have multiples that many times? Like, I'm not sure. Did they plan this out?
my understanding of what their plan was, because I don't think any of them are multiples.
No, they're not.
They are all single pregnancies by 21 different women.
Yes.
So, and based on the article and what they're reporting, they're looking to have 105 or some
over 100. Yeah, they want over 100 kids.
So it seems to be meticulously planned, but I don't think that is the best scenario at all. She's thinking that she is doing great and she's having such a great time having all these children, but these children aren't getting a bond. She has this bond with each child. She spends time with each child, but there is no way to form a true bond with a child in 15 minutes in a day. And if you have 21 of them, between sleeping and eating and napping and you having to do these things and they having to do these things, how do you actually get that bond? And how is that good for this kid emotionally? That's my take. Yes, you can feed them. Yes, you can clothe them. Yes, you can provide all these things for them. But where's that emotional nurturing and love going to come from?
It's interesting. And that's an interesting point because resources are saying that her response to that question, because I gather multiple people may have asked her the same thing, is the fact that she feels that she is bonding with them, that she spends her day kind of in. It's interesting because one of the articles mentioned that her regimen is kind of really strict and really regimented days, which I thought was actually really interesting. I guess maybe that's how she makes things, the operations keep going to a certain amount of functionality, but that she believes that she is bonding with the kid, and not just her. I think it's one of the articles mentioned that she feels that they are bonding with the kids. So it's interesting to consider what people consider to be bonding. I guess that, the question will come up as to, well, should there be a limit because of these types of concerns? Should there be a limit to the amount of surrogates that someone can have, or surrogates or babies via surrogacy? And I should explain what surrogacy is. So these are actually gestational surrogacy, which is different from the traditional surrogate. So the traditional surrogate was the woman or the mom the woman who was carrying the baby was genetically linked to the baby, whereas a gestational carrier or gestational surrogate is one in which the genetic of the offspring is not related to the woman who's carrying the pregnancy. So these are all their genetically linked offsprings, children, So none of them are via sperm donor or egg donor. And the question, we talked about a similar question previously with sperm donors. So now the question is, with surrogacy, should there be some type of limitation as to how many surrogates you can have total, or maybe over a certain time period?
Hold on. I got a question. I got a question. You broke it down for us what the surrogacy is, and you're saying that these ladies is having their own babies, correct?
These are all gestational carriers. Yeah, so to your point, Karen, these are all gestational carriers, which means that they are not genetically linked to the baby. The babies belong genetically, are the offspring of the wife and the father.
So her
Gotcha.
egg, his
Gotcha.
sperm is in their body.
Okay, I thought you were saying something different. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was describing the difference between a traditional surrogate and a gestational surrogate. So traditional surrogate, the offspring or the child is linked to the carrier, the woman that's carrying the pregnancy. But a gestational carrier, which is more commonly what we're seeing today, or experiencing today, gestational carriers or gestational surrogates are those in which the offspring has no genetic ties to the actual woman. And there are diversity of laws with regards to that, with regards to who has right over what. And as you go from country to country or state to state, you may have some countries in which the woman who's carrying, even if she is not genetically linked, has rights to the baby, such as the UK, I believe. And you may have countries in which the mom or the woman who is carrying the pregnancy does not have any rights to the offspring if the offspring is not genetically hers. So,
well, in you know, a lot of the times it's going to come down to the cost, the talk of cost and whatever it is. Like if they can financially afford to do it, then they should. You know, people have pockets. They're going to do what they want with their pockets. And in a way, you can't really stop them. Yes, I guess if the laws came up and said you couldn't, but morally, I think there really should be, because I know that she believes that she's bonding with these children. Time will tell for her, but by then it may be a little bit too late. Because it's not just only, okay, one of the things that I'd read in one of the articles was simply that not only is it that there are nannies that help, obviously, and there's a lot of money spent on nannies. These nannies are living, but it's not even a consistent nanny to a child.
Yes, that's an interesting point. Yes, so talk about that. And I
get why she's doing that. I absolutely understand. Coming from a tradition of having West Indian women care for children that they did not birth as nannies in New York City, I totally get it. Because there's a lot of jealousy when that child starts to refer to that nanny as that mother figure. When that child is sick and is looking for the nanny and not their biological mother. So I get that there's an intention to not get them attached. But the problem is part of our needs as children is to be attached. So who are they getting attached to? So morally, I think it's an issue. They got the pockets.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I agree with you. I really do question the amount of bonding. And I think it's very strategic what she's doing and how she rotates the nannies so that they pretty much have a schedule. They have different assignments, but they'll stay, I guess, with one child for that day, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be with the child the next day. They have 4 days on and 2 or 3 days off. Yeah, 3 days, something like that. So she has a very impressive organizational skills, but these are kids that need nurturing and I really do wonder what it's like to raised in an environment where you really don't have any authentic bonding. And I didn't quite get a sense of how well the kids themselves are bonding as siblings also, and how that's fostered. And I really do question how that is managed, because there's so many of them. How do you form really, that strong relationship with another sibling if, you may not necessarily see that sibling the next day or the day after that. It's an interesting scenario.
So she keeps the kids away too from each other? That's crazy.
No, it's
Not
no, it
necessarily.
didn't say that. Yeah, the articles didn't mention that. I was just
Yeah.
saying there was no implication or understanding of how they foster the sibling love. Yeah.
But she's planning on bringing in what, 79 more kids? Yeah.
That's what the resources are saying. Yeah. So so what do you guys think about surrogacy in general? Like, do you think it's a trend that we should continue, or do you think it's a trend that's getting out of hand? Where do we lie on that whole topic?
In terms of, so the getting out of hand, and not that it's not irrelevant, but it is a beneficial thing. You've had a lot of families be able to get a family, a deeper connection, an additional loved one in their family as a result of surrogacy. Surrogacy has its benefits. It definitely does have its benefits. But there's always the question of how there's care for the person that's being a surrogate. So come back to me. I'm gonna have to put my thoughts.
Don't worry, but you actually brought up an interesting point, which we should make clear. Again, different states, different countries have different rules. In this particular scenario, and I believe this was through the UK, even though she is Russian born, the rules are that you cannot, and check me on this, but this is what I believe my understanding is, you cannot pay outside of the medical expenses for a surrogate. Whereas in other places, you can certainly pay for additional gifts and, give additional incentives, financial incentives for surrogates outside of the medical fees. So it's quite an interesting scenario where and I wonder, like, what do you think about the mindset of someone who considers being a surrogate? Karen, what do you think about that?
Well, that was me at one point.
And tell us about that. Why were you considering it?
Well, first off, I consider it because I did have all three of my kids before the age of 30. And by being at the top of 30, I was all like, I'm still able, young, to have kids for somebody that's really trying, that really, really desire a child to call them their own and stuff, and they can't hold them. So I was really considering doing that at least twice and everything, to hold somebody, baby and everything. And, it's a gift, I'm just a vessel to help others. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. What do you think of, will you be able to sort of hand over the child at birth? Because one of the things that came up in regards to this particular case was that I believe there was one incident where there was some struggle-ish relationship with one of the surrogates, that it appears that it resolved, but that's always a concern for women who are considering surrogacy, the ability to detach from the child at birth. What do you think about that part?
See, that part right there, now I thought about that part, and I'm not for sure where I read it at, but it had gave me an idea too. And it had said also, you should do some therapy while you're going through this whole motion. You should do some therapy to get attached. However, if you still want to know how this kid is doing and these people real good and you got a good relationship with them, yes, it's okay to see how the kid's doing at age and different stuff. That is, understandable, but to have a strong attachment, like, okay, no, I sat here and had this baby, I want it now. Like, you really need some serious therapy and coaching. I say to go with that.
And to that point, Karen, that's a great point. I believe in this particular case, they did do some diligent sort of evaluation, mental health evaluation before they signed up the surrogates to participate. And to your point, also, you brought up an interesting point about what happens after birth. What are the rights of the surrogate, and what if the allowances? And there are some states and scenarios in relation, which was also the scenario in this particular case, where it's literally strictly just communication between the clinic. There was no direct communication or contact between the parents and the surrogate. They went through, all communication went through the clinic. They were able to review the labs. They were able to have some access to medical information, but not direct access. So it's, for women who are considering surrogacy, depending on what state you live in, or country you live in, you really want to check the laws, because if your idea is that you do want some contact with the child after birth in some type of relationship, the law may not allow for that. And also check with the clinic and the agreement that you make with the parents. So it's a very unique relationship. And you're right. I like the idea of seeking mental health therapists before, during, and after.
Yes, definitely. You're gonna need it, because especially if you probably never had no kids and you just decide to do this, I feel that it's really gonna mess you up in the head and everything, because you're like, I held this child and stuff. But if you probably already had some kids and you're like, okay, I already know, you could just take this one. I don't care. I'm just saying. So yeah.
So I think I do agree with Dr. Trissa also that, surrogates are a blessing for couples who have been trying and they have no other option. I find these women to be incredible. Every time I have a surrogate patient, I'm always just really in awe of just how they are making such an incredible sacrifice for people that oftentimes they don't even know. Oftentimes surrogacy can also be, as you mentioned, you have moms who are surrogates for daughters, moms who are postmenopausal who become surrogates, and there are great stories about that. And sometimes they're family members. And so you have this additional bond, which I think is another scenario that's absolutely incredible, to have this special bond with your niece, your nephew, or your grandchild is amazing. But oftentimes in the traditional sense, and a more common scenario, is the fact that there is no relationship afterwards. And that's for most people, and that's what they enjoy. And I think just surrogates are just amazing, amazing women who make this incredible sacrifice. And the ethics of it all is as we branch into certain areas, as infertility medicine expands, and we talked about the sperm donor before, but as this field expands and grows, and it is growing, as we mentioned before, I think we said 60,000 per year in the US are born as a result of IVF, and the numbers are growing exponentially, and the science is expanding rapidly. We're going to have to figure out some of these ethics. Where do we draw the line? What's too much? Should a surrogate be cut off from being a surrogate for a certain amount of time? Are there safety issues? And certainly these women are screened for health conditions, making sure that they're able to carry the pregnancy safely, for toxic habits, making sure that the baby's not exposed to a certain type of environment, intrauterine and externally, environmentally. But should there be cutoff for surrogates? Like, should you be able to be a surrogate as long as you're able to? Or should there be a certain amount of number of times that a woman should be a surrogate? What do you guys think about that?
I think it's going to start to wear on her mentally, wear on her physically. Like Karen said, if someone has had a few babies and they've decided that they want to bless the world with, a couple more, bless couples with a couple more, that's one thing. But, to do it as almost as if it's a job and you're doing it time after time again, that's kind of you becoming a baby factory. And I mean, ethically, that's kind of stepping over the boundaries just a little too much on the fence for that. So I think there should be some points in time. Okay, you do it once or twice, you bless a few people, but then maybe now is not a good time to continue.
Yeah, because some people may be financially incentivized,
Exactly.
Yeah, 35,000 per pop.
I met it actually.
35,000 is the income of a lot of Americans, so that's a pretty sizable amount, especially if you do it for well-off bankers,
Right.
multimillionaires. I'm sure you get more than that. So it can be
Yeah.
some incredible incentives. What were you going to say, Karen?
I met a lady actually when I had only two kids at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
she her kids was going to the school, and I was all like, "Oh, when are you doing stuff?" She said this time she was all like, "I'm not the mother, I'm a surrogate." She had
Mhm.
four kids already, mind you. Her four kids were back to back, so they was like fourth, third, second, first grade. And she was being a mommy that's taking them to school on this and all that. She said she was doing it one more time because she was building up some money to do some stuff. And she
Mm-hmm.
said this people that she was actually doing with, she got to meet them personally and all that stuff. So they brought her a new car for her and her kids. Um, they was buying her a house when she
Wow.
finished with the second one, because they wanted two kids. So they once she do the second one, she could buy her house and everything. And
Yes.
she said she's happened to be the godmother of the
Wow.
kids too. So I was all like, wow, this lady had everything. So she said she did her research and all that. And at the time she was only 31. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she was 31. She was 31, and she said she was going through school for
Mm-hmm.
nursing and all that stuff. But at the time, she was a single mom with four kids, and she needed help, and that's what she did.
Wow, that's incredible. I think she's an incredible woman. You as a
Yes.
mom, you mentioned that she had four kids. What do you guys think about how do you be a surrogate and have other, because when you're pregnant and you have other kids, the kids are
Mhm.
excited about the baby that's coming. So how do you be a
Mhm.
surrogate and how do you help everyone else in the family not attached to the pregnancy, not attached to the baby, because the baby's going to do certain things. You're going to have certain responses. You're going to be like, oh, the baby just kicked, the baby just moved. So baby's going to, at some point, become a part of the family routine. So how do you prevent detachment issues with the rest of the family, including kids?
Well, like I said, she happened to be the godmother of both of them, so they're gonna always see these babies. So the kids loved it. The kids knew that wasn't their brother or sister and everything. They said, "It's my god, brother or sister." The kids already knew. She already had set these kids down and let them know.
So they were able to still, however, have some kind of a bond. But what about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
scenarios? What about the scenarios that are more common where there is no bond?
Oh, I don't know.
I
Therapy.
think I think that also comes about with women who give their babies up for adoption.
Yeah.
So for those who
Mm,
have kids and they give the baby up for adoption,
that's a
because
good
that's
point.
something else to be considered.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the age of the child, I think would be, if you have a teenager, it may be a little bit more blasé. They may not be in that caring state. But when
Yeah.
you have them that are maybe like preteens and tweens
No,
and
you
tens and things like that, they may have a different take on this because, you know, they're not as exposed to that, or maybe they're now being exposed to it, and so it becomes a different thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess it'll be similar for someone who maybe um, got pregnant but know that they don't plan to keep the baby and plan to give the baby
Mm.
up for adoption. I think they'd probably have a lot of the same kind of discussions within the home or within the family regarding that too.
No, let me
Yeah.
tell you back. Let me go back on that teenager. You said maybe of a teenagers. No, my daughter's 16. She still asks me when am I going to give her a sister. I told her this ride is done, is
Mm-hmm.
over. So no, not even teenagers. Some of them think it's cute. I'm not like, how far of a gap is that? Like, no, yeah, no, no.
Yeah, and that's probably because some of her maternal instincts are starting to mature, and they always want
Mhm.
mom to produce another child so that they can explore those types of feelings. Um,
Yeah,
and try to have understanding of them. I think it's, this is just a very, as we've kind of pointed out, there's so many aspects of surrogacy that we still have yet to really explore and develop, and really consider not just the gestational carrier, but everyone in her environment. How does that affect her own family as she carries the pregnancy? And as we mentioned, her own mental health and things like that. And then also making sure that for those who are looking for larger families, to make sure that their mental health of the kids and some kind of I hate to say regulation, but some kind of monitoring of the home situation once a baby is birthed into a family like the family that we recently became known of. I was really surprised that there was really no kind of monitoring for this type of stuff. And clearly it's an evolving area. And so I'm sure the laws are always 10 years, 20 years behind. But it's a blessing, but we really got to make sure that we don't turn it into some form of factory
bondage.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you guys for talking about this topic, because I'm fascinated about this whole area. And for those who are watching, drop your comments below. Let us know what are your thoughts about this, all the different things we talk about. Should it be limited? How do we protect the family of the gestational carrier? What laws should we have? Should we have any laws? Should it be regulated? Let us know what you think. And the question of today is, if finances was not an issue, we're going to ask the panel this evening, what would you want for Christmas if finances were not an issue? What would be your big ticket item as a Christmas gift that you would like to receive? We're going to put it into the atmosphere.
Oh, sure.
Well, I'd probably be asking for a 2020 Toyota 4Runner. All black everything.
All black everything. You guys heard it. She put it out there in the atmosphere. Dr. Trissa, where can they find you?
On IG at trissajo.dpt.
Awesome. Come on, Karen. Finances are not an issue. What would you want for the holidays if finances were not an issue?
Oh, a brand new Lexus, up to date my Lexus to the brand new one, 2021. Yes, silver.
We are going cars. Okay.
Yes, silver, leather interior.
Luxury cars.
We need to update my Lexus. So that's what we're going at. But you can find me. Yeah, you can find me on IG at What a Touch.
You guys heard it here. The panelists are requesting and have put it out into the atmosphere. We are looking for new cars. And I know some of y'all are about to judge me and you're about to say, you, Dr. Moore, should probably be asking for a new car. But I'm not. That's not what I want. I want a trip to Dubai. Stop hating on my car. Okay?
Hey.
So
take me with you.
Finances were not an issue, I would be flying to Dubai tomorrow. Okay. All right, you guys. Like I am Dr. T. I am the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club. You can find us right here on YouTube. Make sure you see that link above me. Yes, go ahead and click that link and watch another one of our videos. If you like this video, I am certain you're going to like the others. And if you are on Instagram, make sure you look us up. Hit us up on Instagram at healthybump.club. See us there. See yes. We post so many educational videos. You will hear from each and every one of our panelists, giving you quick tips, health tips of the day. Do not miss it out. We will see you the next episode.